What if the primary obstacle blocking your path to financial independence is nothing more than your own self-concept? It has nothing to do with your bank balance, the state of the economy, or where you started in life. It's entirely about your mindset. In this video, we are diving deep into one of the most influential books ever published on the psychology of abundance. Think Yourself Rich by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Let's be clear, this isn't some gimmick promising overnight wealth. We aren't here to talk about toxic hustle culture or burning yourself out. This conversation centers on a much more essential truth: reconditioning the subconscious patterns that quietly dictate every financial choice you make, day in and day out, completely beneath your conscious awareness. Dr. Murphy stood as a pioneering figure in the New Thought movement. He dedicated decades to analyzing how human consciousness interacts with prosperity, success, and material freedom. The breakthroughs he uncovered ultimately transformed the lives of millions globally. As we unpack these concepts together, I want you to honestly reflect on one specific question. When you imagine achieving massive, profound, limitless financial abundance, what is your immediate internal reaction? Do you feel a rush of excitement? Or do you notice a subtle wave of anxiety, guilt, or a feeling that you aren't worthy of it? If your reaction was anything short of pure, unvocalized excitement, this specific text was crafted for you. Let's get started. I have distilled this material into the 5 core principles outlined in the book, complete with real-world scenarios, actionable steps, and defining quotes you can begin practicing today. Before we unpack those pillars, let me lay out the overarching framework of our discussion. Think Yourself Rich hinges on a single, undeniable premise. Your subconscious mind operates perpetually. It never takes a break, it never pauses, and it is endlessly working to materialize whatever core assumptions you feed it. Look at your mind as a patch of fertile land. Your conscious intellect acts as the gardener, while your subconscious represents the soil. The seeds you plant are your daily thoughts and beliefs. The core problem: most people are completely unaware that they are actively cultivating weeds in their mental garden. Persistent ideas like making money is an uphill battle. Wealthy individuals are inherently greedy. Or, I lack the talent to be prosperous, function exactly like weeds. Your subconscious doesn't evaluate or debate these thoughts. It simply grows whatever is introduced to it. Our roadmap today covers Murphy's 5 definitive pillars. 1. Grasping the duality of the mind, conscious versus subconscious, and recognizing why the subconscious dictates your economic reality. 2. Pinpointing and dismantling deep-seated, restrictive money beliefs that have quietly stalled your progress for years. 3. Harnessing intentional visualization to utilize your creative imagination as a legitimate engine for building wealth. 4. Mastering authentic affirmations, moving past superficial phrases to embrace deeply felt, repetitive declarations that re-engineer your neural patterns. 5. Executing aligned action understanding why mental shifts require physical follow-through, and how an abundant mindset naturally steers you toward optimal decisions. Let's unpack the opening principle. Hold on. To truly bridge the gap between simply watching a summary and executing these breakthroughs, you need the complete roadmap. I have placed a link to the original book in the description below, so you can access the precise formulas and deeper nuances that couldn't fit into this video. Securing your copy right now gives you a massive advantage as we open the first section. Dr. Murphy details how every individual functions using two distinct mental spheres: the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. To reshape your financial destiny, your very first task is identifying which of these two is truly steering the ship. Your conscious mind is what you are actively engaging at this exact moment. It is your rational, structured, and analytical side, the part that sets goals, maps out strategies, and studies content like this. It's the voice inside that declares, "I want financial freedom." Your subconscious, however, is an entirely different force. It runs uninterrupted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anchoring your deeply ingrained habits, emotional triggers, and automatic tendencies. This brings us to Murphy's most profound revelation. The subconscious mind is entirely incapable of distinguishing a real physical occurrence from an intensely imagined mental experience. Let that sink in. It cannot separate actual reality from a highly detailed, emotionally resonant internal image. This explains perfectly why two entrepreneurs can launch the exact same business model, yet one scales massively, while the other falls short. The variance isn't basic intellect, it's the underlying code running in the background of their minds. The subconscious operates entirely on frequency and habituation. Whatever concepts you dwell on most consistently, backed by genuine emotional weight, lock in as baseline assumptions. Those assumptions ultimately dictate your physical circumstances. Murphy illustrates this using a nautical metaphor. Your conscious mind serves as the captain on deck, shouting commands. Your subconscious represents the engineering crew below deck. They don't analyze the validity of the orders. They execute them mechanically. If the captain routinely mutters, "We can't afford this journey," the engine crew will inadvertently ensure the vessel remains docked. Therefore, the initial phase of cultivating wealth is audit mode, becoming hyper-aware of the commands you broadcast to your deeper mind daily. Let's look at a practical example to clarify this. Picture two individuals, whom we will call Sam and Alex. Both come from modest, working-class backgrounds. Both discover the identical commercial venture, and both possess comparable skills and starting capital. They face the exact same landscape, yet Sam's deeper mind is conditioned to trigger self-sabotage the second progress appears. Conversely, Alex's subconscious actively scans for workarounds, growth paths, and strategic alliances. Fast forward half a year later, Sam has compiled a long list of reasons why the market failed, while Alex has solidified 3 major partnerships and is actively scaling operations. Your tangible outcomes are always downstream from your internal programming. You cannot hold one internal reality and manifest a different external life. The subconscious always wins the tug of war. Dr. Murphy dedicates a massive portion of his work to a topic traditional finance guides completely bypass: the psychological and emotional toxins so many of us harbor regarding money. Where do these toxic programs originate? Typically, they stem from three distinct areas: early childhood conditioning, cultural paradigms, and intense personal setbacks. Consider your early childhood environment. Recall the phrases you repeatedly heard regarding wealth. Money doesn't grow on trees. Wealthy people lack morals. That's beyond our means. Or who do you think we are? These statements, echoed throughout your formative years, embed themselves deeply into your formative interiors. Embed themselves deeply into your formative interiors. As an adult, they run seamlessly as your default background programming. Similarly, your regional or cultural upbringing might have subtly linked financial abundance to corruption, greed, or ethical compromise. To counter this, here is a practical exercise adapted directly from Murphy's core methodology that you can utilize tonight. Step 1. Document your 3 most deeply held assumptions regarding money. Be completely transparent with yourself. Don't write what sounds noble. Write what you actually feel. Step 2. For every single item, ask yourself directly, where did this narrative come from? Who handed this concept to me? Trace it back to its point of origin. Step 3. Evaluate it critically. Is this perspective actually helping me? Is it an objective truth? Or is it simply a legacy narrative I inherited? Step 4. Construct the exact polar opposite of that statement. The precise viewpoint an abundant, secure, and generous individual would naturally hold. For instance, swap "wealth is incredibly hard to secure" with "money flows to me consistently as a natural byproduct of the immense value I offer others." Step 5. Recite your newly engineered belief out loud with deep conviction every morning and evening for a full 30 days. Murphy's core thesis is unmistakable. You cannot override a deep-seated subconscious belief using raw willpower alone. Willpower is strictly a tool of the conscious mind, and the subconscious completely overpowers it in terms of raw influence. The solitary path to shifting an ingrained pattern is through sustained repetition, genuine emotion, and vivid imagery, which leads us directly to our third pillar. Dr. Murphy frames intentional visualization as one of the most potent mechanisms available to anyone striving for financial freedom, and his instructions on execution are incredibly precise. When most people hear the term visualization, they picture casually glancing at a vision board or briefly daydreaming about a luxury vehicle. That is miles away from Murphy's methodology. He advocates for what he terms mental movies, Vivid, highly detailed, emotionally resonant internal scenarios that you replay consistently until your subconscious accepts them as absolute fact. The neurological reality behind this process is straightforward. When you visualize a scenario with profound emotional engagement, your brain lights up the exact same neural pathways that fire during an actual physical experience. Your subconscious logs this data as direct proof that this reality is entirely viable, familiar, and safe to execute in the real world. Murphy advises creating a structured daily visualization routine, preferably right before you drift off to sleep. In that groggy, deeply relaxed state, your conscious analytical filter drops its guard, allowing images to imprint onto the subconscious with maximum impact. He calls this the sleepy state technique and stresses one absolute rule: do not just view a cold image, feel it. Immerse yourself completely in the emotional landscape of already possessing the freedom, wealth, and peace of mind you are aiming for. Embrace the gratitude, the grounded confidence, and the quiet joy. Your deeper mind doesn't respond to flat visuals. It responds to the emotional frequency behind them. The mental picture is simply the vehicle, while the emotion acts as the actual signal broadcasted to the engine room. Here is a brief, practical visualization template inspired directly by Murphy's teachings. Read through this quietly, or record it to play back as you wind down for sleep. Gently close your eyes. Take 3 deep, measured breaths. Now, visualize yourself waking up in the morning inside a living space that perfectly embodies your ideal lifestyle. Dial in the specifics. Notice how the morning sun filters across the room. Listen to the ambient sounds. Pay attention to the very first thought that hits your mind as you wake up. Next, visualize checking your phone and looking directly at your financial balances. The figure displayed reflects years of intelligent choices, focused action, and impactful service to the world. How does that number make you feel inside? Sit with that sensation. Watch yourself sit down to create, not out of desperate survival, but because you are genuinely passionate about your work and it brings massive value to others. You are operating entirely in your zone of genius. Finally, picture yourself in a conversation with someone who means the world to you, a partner, a parent, or a child, and saying to them with complete calm, "We are completely set up. Everything is taken care of." Let's take a quick pause here. If these concepts are hitting home for you, I want to ask a quick favor. Drop a comment below and share what is one old limiting money belief you are making a firm decision to drop today. Just give me one. Type it out explicitly. There is immense psychological power in naming these patterns publicly, and it reminds you that you aren't navigating this path alone. Also, If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to smash that button right now. Every single week, we break down the absolute best books on wealth creation, high-level mindset, and personal success with the kind of analytical depth that actually restructures how you think. Excellent. Let's keep moving. We are stepping into our final 2 pillars, and this is exactly where theory translates into massive real-world execution. Before you roll your eyes and assume we are talking about basic positive thinking cliches, stay locked in. Murphy's specific approach to affirmations is fundamentally different from mainstream self-help advice, and understanding this core distinction changes the entire game. The fatal flaw with traditional affirmation advice is that people are routinely instructed to recite statements that completely clash with what they actually believe to be true. Repeating, "I am a multimillionaire," "I am a multimillionaire," while your actual banking app shows a negative balance, triggers immediate rejection from your deeper mind. It creates a massive internal conflict. Your conscious intellect states the goal, but your subconscious immediately fires back. That's a flat-out lie. Look at your reality. Murphy avoids this trap completely. He focuses heavily on what he calls the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Instead of trying to force a claim you currently feel is a lie, you channel your focus entirely into the exact emotional experience of what it would feel like if your goal were already a concrete reality. You emotionally feel your way into the new paradigm rather than trying to use logic to force it into existence. He also highlights the absolute necessity of practicing these affirmations while in a deeply relaxed, suggestible state, never through sheer grit or tensed muscles. The optimal windows are right after you open your eyes, right before you pass out at night, or immediately following meditation. This is when your brain waves naturally slow down, making your subconscious highly receptive to new data. Crucially, it requires relentless consistency. Deep internal transformation never occurs from one highly motivated session. It is the result of quiet, dedicated, daily repetition sustained over weeks and months. Think of it as completely rewriting code. Lines of code require deliberate sequencing. Furthermore, you must customize your declarations to target your unique internal fears. If your underlying terror is losing what you build, your phrasing must reflect absolute stability. Here are 5 core affirmations designed around Murphy's principles, built to be recited slowly, with immense emotional weight, in a state of absolute relaxation. The infinite intelligence within me knows exactly how to guide me to massive prosperity. I lean into this inner guidance completely. Money is simply a medium of exchange and value. As I offer exceptional service to the world, wealth naturally returns to me. I fully let go of any old narrative that financial abundance is stressful, dangerous, or unearned. Prosperity is my natural state of being. With every passing day, my financial ecosystem is becoming increasingly robust, stable, and joyful. I am deeply grateful for the wealth I currently hold, and I am entirely open to receiving vastly more. Murphy suggests reciting these with your eyes closed in a deeply comfortable position, keeping your breathing slow and rhythmic. Do not rush through the list. Take a deliberate pause after every single sentence. Allow the emotional weight of the words to settle fully into your body. That exact pause, that hyper-focused moment of felt reality, is where the deep rewiring occurs. He shares countless case studies in his book, detailing how readers completely flipped their financial trajectories, not through random miracles, but because as their internal paradigms shifted, their external habits, choices, and opportunities naturally aligned to reflect that inner growth. Your mind will always seek out what it expects to see. Condition it for abundance, and it will begin spotting opportunities everywhere. This section brings us to Murphy's most critically point, which completely separates his philosophy from the just think positive thoughts and wait for checks to appear in the mail crowd. Murphy never promotes passivity. He is completely unambiguous. Building wealth demands real-world action. However, the defining nuance lies in the type of action you are taking. There are two polar opposite modes of operation in this world: forced action and inspired action. Forced action is where the vast majority of people get stuck. They relentlessly grind, hustle, and try to force their way through constant internal resistance. They are perpetually swimming upstream, not because they lack work ethic or intelligence, but because their physical actions are completely out of alignment with their deep subconscious beliefs. A part of them is still dragging the heavy anchor of, "I'm not actually worthy of this," even as they try to push the gas pedal forward. This misalignment results in burnout, deep frustration, and external outcomes that never match the sheer volume of effort expended. Inspired action operates on a completely different frequency. It feels natural, carrying a sense of being pulled forward rather than forcing yourself through a wall. The moment your subconscious alignment matches your conscious desire for abundance, your mind begins organically firing off innovative ideas, intuitive hits, and sharp impulses that point you exactly where you need to go. You get a sudden, compelling urge to pitch a specific client. You feel a strong pull to master a particular skill set. An opening presents itself, and instead of letting fear talk you out of it, you execute seamlessly. To see how this operates in the real world, let's break down what I call the aligned action cycle. Step 1. Inner framework. You consistently practice your daily visualization and targeted affirmations. You actively audit and dismantle limiting beliefs, deliberately feeding your deeper mind the precise emotional state of your goal. Step 2. Mental alignment. Over a sequence of weeks, your dominant internal baseline shifts. Instead of operating from "money is scarce and stressful," you move into the genuine reality of "abundance flows to me as I solve problems." This shift isn't forced. It becomes your new, natural default setting. Step 3. Intuitive flashes. Your subconscious, now fully aligned with your goals, begins actively brainstorming strategies. You start noticing gold mines and opportunities you previously would have been completely blind to. You find yourself pulled toward specific books, networks, or skills that turn out to be the exact missing pieces of your puzzle. Step 4. Decisive execution. Because your subconscious is no longer actively working against your conscious goals, taking real-world action feels entirely natural rather than terrifying. You pitch the deal. You make the call. You launch the project. You don't wait for perfection. You move with speed and clarity. Step 5. Compounded gains. Every individual action taken from a position of true internal alignment yields a concrete result. That positive feedback loop builds your confidence, which deepens your core beliefs, which makes your next visualization session even more potent. The loop compounds exponentially. This is the true definition of Murphy's phrase, "Think yourself rich." It isn't mysticism. It's a highly practical psychological loop. Let's tie this entire blueprint together. Joseph Murphy's Think Yourself Rich is ultimately centered around one radical, life-altering perspective. The ultimate barrier between you and financial abundance is not external. It is entirely internal. It is not dictated by the current economy, your family tree, or a lack of superficial luck. It is dictated by the invisible background program running inside your subconscious mind that keeps steering you away from wealth. The remedy is beautifully simple, yet profoundly challenging. You must rewrite the program. You achieve this by mastering the relationship between your conscious and subconscious minds, by actively tracking down and deleting the limiting narratives you've carried since youth, by dedicating yourself to a daily practice of vivid, emotionally intense visualization, by speaking affirmations rooted in deep emotional truth rather than desperation, and by executing bold, inspired actions the moment your internal blueprint matches your external vision. None of this is overly complicated to understand, but it demands something far scarcer than raw intelligence. It requires absolute consistency. Showing up day after day, week after week, long before the tangible results show up in your reality, simply because you have unwavering trust in the process. Murphy's core message to the world, and my direct message to you, is this: you are not too late to the game. You are not too old to pivot. You are not too broken to succeed. And you are not lagging behind. The only real question left to answer is whether you are truly ready to turn your focus inward and execute the deep mental conditioning that the vast majority of people are simply too lazy to do. If you are ready to begin that internal transformation, I am fully committed to walking this path right alongside you on this channel.